All episodes of the Real Women in Business podcast reflect the opinions and views of the guest and cast McCrory and do not reflect official policy or position of employers or clients. Thank you.
You're listening to the Real Women in Business podcast. I'm your host, Cass McCrory, and in this podcast, we highlight women in all kinds of businesses. For yourself, someone else, full-time, part-time, overtime hustle, together we will learn from and with one another. And if we get it right, it'll lift us all. Let's get into it.
Friends, today we're talking to Kellsie Moore. She's an actress and on-camera expert that supports entrepreneurs. And Kellsie is a force of nature. I am so excited for you to listen to this podcast. We talk about living our purpose as our responsibility. There are so many mic drop moments where we're talking about how we take action. What are we believing in? How do we get past our excuses and the pain of being indecisive? There is much for you to unpack in this one. Make sure you check out the show notes at realwomeninbusiness.com/Kellsie with 2 L's. Let's get to the show. Kellsie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So we don't have a whole lot of background on one another. So this is kind of fun. We're really jumping into the deep end as strangers a little bit outside of some Instagram back and forth. Tell us, what do you do in this world?
So I really love to, I'll give you kind of like that quick background I just did. Over the last 5 years, I've really dived into everything personal development. And that's really where Be Marvelous You started, was creating an entirely new mindset culture and a new way to think about things and show up in my life. And through that journey, I dove into everything I could possibly learn about building a business online marketing, business strategy, how to do that. And I've actually been training as a professional actress in film and TV for the last 5 years. And now just recently, over this last about 8 months, brought all 3 of those categories together. Because I was like, oh my God, this is where it's at. This is bringing all of those fiery passions of the gifts that I have to offer and the value that I bring to my clients into that really profound way of getting camera ready so that they can show up. Everything we do is based in mindset, so that they can show up as their best self in that authentic way that's actually powerful and makes an impact to their clients and tells their story and connects it to their service and their sales in that powerful way on video, connecting through social media, all of those aspects of it.
That is so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 years of you basically investing everything you've got.
Yes. Yes.
I'm curious if along the way it felt purposeful or if you were like, I have no idea why I'm pursuing this, but I'm interested, so we're going to head into it.
It's a great question. Both.
Okay.
Where there are times where I was like, I really believe that living out our purpose is our responsibility, and that to do that is to follow our curiosities. And I do not think it's wise to make a business or try to monetize every curiosity. That's silly. We have too many, I think sharing some of that stuff on social media of our different multi-passionate aspects is really important because it builds up the know, like, and trust factor in a more well-rounded way, where it's like, hey, look, no, I'm a real full person. Like, I also like this and this thing, but this is my one business focus. And so over the last 5 years, really figuring out, like, what is that one thing that what can I show up in the biggest way to offer the biggest value to people and follow that curiosity and that passion and that purpose in a way that shapes a business and an offering. And I think sometimes it takes a while, and like you go down this journey and kind of ebbs and flows of, let me see this and test for a bit. Like, I loved teaching, mindset and having my clients there. And I have a whole online course with it. And I'll sometimes give it to my camera clients and be like, okay, so you need a little bit more of like the self-belief to work into. Here's this course also, like, go through this. And so we can start to work that in, because when I'm teaching somebody how to show up as their confident self with a powerful on-camera presence in a way that's going to create impact, we have to work through the self-limiting beliefs that are holding us back in that.
Yeah. What do you think, if you were to name one limiting belief that you see a lot of people carry, what is it?
Okay. It shows up in a bunch of different ways of, I look like this. I'm afraid of this person judging me. I'm afraid of blah. It all comes down to, am I actually worthy of getting on camera? Do I have anything worthwhile to say? Is anybody going to care? It all comes down to our sensation of worthiness. That's easily the number one thing. And it again, it's just like it manifests in ways of being like, well, it takes me 2 hours to get ready before I can hop on camera. Like, I need 3 weeks of prep with my script, and I need to change this and this, and that perfectionism thing. Or I'm really scared of how this person's going to perceive this and judge this. It just all stems from that sense of, am I really worth it? Am I really worthy? And you know what? You are. You sure are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you always feel worthy yourself?
Oh, no. Oh, no. Absolutely not. And I think that's really, I think it's rare that somebody just does, immediately out the gate. I think that's something that we have to train ourselves in and commit to deciding. And no, for me, I had a huge, I had several variations of what does that mean? Do I have anything worthwhile to talk about? Yes. Okay, I do. So what are these? And I start to, we talk about like the brain dumps. So you just kind of start pen to paper, like, okay, what are X, Y, Z things that I can talk about? What is this that I've been through? And you start to write out some of your stories and your experiences, things that you've gone through and what you've taken away from them. And suddenly you're like, oh my goodness, that actually, somebody needs to hear that. There's impact there. I went through that for a reason. I didn't go through this intense health journey just so that I could suffer. No, I went through that so that I could share this and help impact and serve somebody else.
Yeah.
I didn't go through this travel experience just so I could have a fun story to tell over drinks. Like, no, I can tell this in a way that's going to serve clients, my audience, build a business in a way that's going to build in that feeling of that purpose in my life. These things happen for us, not to us. And when we start to switch into that mindset of these things are happening for us and see these experiences we've had as gifts, we start writing that down, building out that content, mapping out what we can talk about. And that will start to build your confidence, your sense of worthiness, the yes, I have something to say, it matters less what I look like when I'm saying it, as long as I'm showing up in this powerful way with this planned out information.
Yeah. So that's something that everybody that's listening to this, whether you're listening to this the day we release it or 6 months down the road, just start capturing the stories that would be of service to somebody else.
Yes.
Just write them down.
Yep.
And you don't need to know exactly how you're going to use them or how you get to be this teller of that story, but just creating the fuel to say, this is the reason why I have the fire.
Yes. And what happens so often is I see this all the time where people are hopping on social media and they're like, okay, well, my coach said I have to get on video now. Okay, so I'm going to just hop on and just talk about a thing. There's no fire behind it. There's no personality. There's no passion. I see 5 gajillion fitness coaches a day on Instagram and I love you, but show me something. Don't just be like, okay, well, abs are made in the kitchen. Like, great, thanks. Like, tell me something more. Fuel it with a story. Like, give me some of your heart. Share some of what your journey is. And not just in the way of, really, not just in the way of, well, I lost 20 pounds, so now I can show you how to do it too. Like, connect with me on this soul level. What is your fire? Why? Why on earth are you doing what you're doing? Because it is hard work, ladies, to build a business. Like, it is not easy. So why are you showing up every day and putting in that work? Share that with me. Share that passion. Show up in that way that believes in yourself, because when you believe in yourself, it's a hell of a lot easier for me to believe in you.
Oh, that is powerful. Yeah, I see a lot of people. And I can honestly say I've done this myself. I'm like, validate me. Tell me I'm worthy. Do this, please. Meanwhile, if I want people to actually feel that way about me, I've got to show up owning it already.
Yes. Yes. You have to show up and own it. Own who you are. Own your stories. Own your pain. Own your mistakes. Like,
Yeah.
stuff does not need to be perfect. And it's not going to be. Heads up. But it needs to be powerful. It needs to be
Ooh.
powerful.
What does that mean to you?
It means that it is driven from your fire. It is driven from that purpose with focus, that you have tenacity and perseverance, and you are willing to show up consistently and put in that work in a way that I can trust you and know that we can, have some sort of partnership, or that I can work with you. If I'm
Mhm.
watching you online, I want to see that you're the real deal, that you're really showing up. That
Yeah.
that sort of consistency and that sort of belief in yourself, and that being that sense of, hey, I'm here, this is me, and this isn't me as my lazy self watching Netflix and eating ice cream at night. Like, you can do clips of that because that builds in the personality, right? But when you're showing up to give value and offer, when you show up with that fire, with that passion, I will trust you so much more. That's going to have impact. That's where the power comes in. And that's where you don't need to have people freak out, especially with video, where they're like, well, I need to have cool kinetic typography and something flashy and really engaging and cool. It's like, no, you don't need to have all of the flash. Some of that's great to work in. You can mix it up. You can test different strategies. But when you show up as your imperfect, wonderful self, that's powerful.
Yeah, I think that people are less fooled now
Mm-hmm.
by the filter or whatever you might
Yes.
be putting on to mask or make yourself feel more worthy in the situation.
Yes. Oh my gosh, to make yourself feel more worthy in the situation. I love that. That's
Because,
exactly right.
and I get it as a crutch.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I get it. Like, I'm not turning off the autocorrect filter on my Google Docs, right? Like,
Yeah.
I want things to come through looking good, but there's that authenticity connection that you
Mm-hmm.
create when you're imperfect.
Yeah. I tell some of my clients, like, I will intentionally do a certain amount of videos with no makeup on,
Yeah.
because one, that's part of who I am, just in my choices in my life, and I want to help create that space, particularly for other women, because this is a huge one that comes up. It might sound kind of dumb, but like, this is a big insecurity that shows up over and over again, where I have to get dolled up first before I can show
Mhm.
my face on, even on stories, which is like the most quick, casual one. It's like, if you're doing a VSL, sure, because that's designed to be more professionally produced. But even in like these more relaxed conversations where they're so scared, that's fine. Throw a filter on. Like, that's okay.
Right.
Like, if that makes you feel better. If you're feeling like you need something, there are plenty of apps that can make up your face for you. But I want to do what I can to help show and create that space for you, to give you permission to show up just as yourself, just
Yeah.
who you are as you are, that it doesn't need to be this perfect glam style where we're like, oh, if I'm getting on video, I have to look like a celebrity. No, you don't. You need to look like you. And
Yeah.
you need to show up in that way and talk to your audience in that way that they're going to resonate with. So what does your audience need to see from you?
I think that's a great question to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Whether your audience is your kids or your
Mm-hmm.
audience is, you know, 700 women that want to have abs,
Yeah.
or whatever, your audience
Yeah.
might be 12 people in a board meeting. Like, what do they need to see from you?
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
How can you
asking
show
that
up?
question.
Exactly. And it's really, where's that sweet spot of where you just feel like you're being the most truthful, honoring to yourself and what they need and how they're going to receive something in the best way. Where does that mix? What does that look like? And that's going to be different for different people.
Yeah.
Hmm. It doesn't need to be a one size fits all, these are the camera rules or this is the social media rules. Like, do XYZ things, look this certain way, wear this outfit, wear this, do these things. No, it's finding what is that mix that feels like something really true and authentic to you and something that's going to serve and show up for your audience in the best, most impactful way possible.
I want to throw this idea around with you.
Ooh, okay.
And I've never done this. I've always just asked the questions, but I've been thinking about this and I'm really curious what you think about it.
Yeah.
I think that there's this idea that somebody else has the recipe.
Mm-hmm.
And where I see really big, powerful shifts happening for people, whether it's in a client relationship or a coaching relationship, whatever it is that the coach creates a container for you to figure out your own recipe.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's where the magic happens, because I think so frequently we'll go in and we'll say, I just need 7 steps to have perfect videos on Instagram so that I can attract my first 3 clients. And it's all clickbaity and wonderful and blah, blah.
Which is great. That's what I offer, because that's what you got to go into to click.
Right? But like, you've got to do this. And it's like, okay, but then that's not where the answer is. The answer is not in 7 steps. How do we get away from perpetuating the 7 steps?
Oh, I love it. Okay, so I have a 7-step training, you guys, that you will want to watch because it answers this. Well, I mean, in a ethereal way, it answers this. So I love this though, because we often in marketing, this is like the business strategy part, we pitch and offer and create an invitation into what somebody wants. So that they'll come in and learn about you, and you guys can get to know each other and see if it's a good fit to work together. What you sell is what they need. And that's where the magic is. That's the container that you create for them to find their own recipe. Because you need to work with somebody who's done what you're trying to do before, because then they have the guidance and the expertise to create that container and create that space for you to discover it. But your path, your history, your story, what you've been through, and your goals and your business and your vision, that's different from every one of their other clients. It's different from them and their own experience. So they can be like, hey, this is what I've learned. This is what I figured out. Here are my 7 steps. Here you go. Now let's start taking in your story, in your vision, in your ideal client, in your identity, in your sales and your offer, and start to create what your recipe is. Because if we're making cookies, they're going to taste very different. Like, if you're making like a double chocolate fudge something, somebody else is going to end up with like a peanut butter cookie. And that's great, because that's what's going to be true and authentic for them. So like, I love that we're talking about the 7 steps, because it is one of the most triggering for our brains for whatever neuroscience reason. Yeah. And so it's a great foundation for creating trainings based off of that, because it seems accessible. People are like, okay, I can handle, it's under 10, like it's this under 10, I can handle this. Okay. But it's robust enough. It's not just like 2. Okay. This is like a process. I can go through this. And we start to believe we can actually make it through it, right? Because people take action when they believe in you and when they believe in themselves. So
whoa, say that again, because that's really good. People take action when they believe in you and they believe in themselves.
Yes. Because if they don't think that you can help them get there, they won't work with you. If people think that they can't get themselves there, they won't work with you, because they'll think they can't make it.
I'm just going to take a beat to write that down.
Awesome. I love it.
And also, all of this stuff is going to be in the show notes, because I'm sure that there's somebody driving right now and being like, I'm going to need to listen to this again. And you probably will need to listen to it again. And that's okay. But also head to the show notes. I love that. And I think I just want to play that equation out. So I'm very metric. I like metrics. I like the numbers. I like, the formula of this really plays well.
Cool.
So if I'm not taking action, there's 2 things to look to.
Yes.
Am I not believing in myself, or am I not believing in the promise?
Yes. That's exactly right. Yep. Because if you're looking at this person
powerful,
and you're considering them and you're thinking, well, I like what they're saying, but I just don't know if it's for me. I can't afford it. That's too scary. That's too hard. Is this going to work? All of these things that we go, I don't have the time. I can't commit to that. I'm too busy right now. I can't. Right?
Yeah.
All of those things that come up, ask yourself, oh boy, and this is where it gets like so intense, because sales is serving. We have these gifts and we have this value, and is the clients that I work with, when I offer them a position to work with me, it is because I believe it is a disservice to them to not make that offer. And so if they start going down that, okay, well, no, I like this, but, and I can't, it's like, okay, where's the disconnect coming from? Is it because you don't believe that I can deliver on this promise, on this offer, on this change that I can cultivate? If so, let me address that. Let me see if I can help answer those questions for you. And that's why we do sales calls or discovery calls, is because I can actually answer those questions. But if the answer is, well, I just don't believe in myself, and sometimes it takes a bit to get there, where it's like, well, I just don't know, will I really do the work? Can I really?
Yes. That is a big one. I don't believe that I'll actually do the work.
Yeah. And
I think that's interesting, especially with women, because so often it's really hard for us to do our own work.
yes. Yes.
Because we're doing other people's work. Or we're doing the work of other people's needs.
Yep.
And so when it comes time,
everyone else's first.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with the 4 tendencies, Gretchen Rubin's 4 tendencies, obliger, upholder?
No, I don't think so. It sounds vaguely familiar, but no, I don't think so.
So she has these 4 tendencies that she puts people into. You're a rebel, which means you don't care about what anybody says. You're an obliger. You will do anything for other people. You're an upholder. You will do things for yourself. And then the questioner. You will do something if the rationale behind doing it is strong enough.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So everybody falls into one of those 4 tendencies. Or so that's the claim.
That's the, right. Sure.
I can see myself being a real rebel in some areas and a very serious upholder in other areas. Okay.
I think it's fair actually to put that caveat on it real quick, where it's like, maybe you fit into one of these categories in a certain category of your life, because I think how we show up in our marriage is different than how we show up in our business or something.
Yeah.
You know, it probably should be a little bit different.
Yeah. But I think it's interesting, this idea of, if you're an upholder, and I know a lot of my listeners are upholders, where they're very good at keeping promises to other people, but not so good at making promises to themselves. That's where working in a program or working with a coach is really helpful.
Yes.
Because you have somebody that's holding the space.
Yes. And they're going to be like, well, I'm going to ask you about these things next week. Did you complete this XYZ thing?
Yeah.
You know, because I believe in you. And I believe in what you're doing and your mission and your sales. And I am so driven and focused to help you get there. And I can never care about your business more than you do. I can never care about your results more than you do. I will self-destruct. Like, coaches, you guys cannot care more about your clients' results than they do, which is why we do screening calls and validation calls and take qualified people that are like, yes, I'm committed. I need some guidance. I need a space, that container to explore this in, to work through this. I need somebody checking in with me, holding me accountable, but I am in.
Yeah. What do you say to the person that isn't in?
That's okay. It's okay. That it's okay. That when they are, I'm here for them. But until that point, I can't work with them. It's going to be a drain on me. They're not a hell yes client. They're not somebody that's the word ready is kind of a farce, because ready is a lie. We're never really ready, but we come to a point at which we make a decision where we're either committed and we're like, I'm going to either feel the pain of the hard work, or I'm going to feel the pain of regret of nothing being different a year from now, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. So what does my choice look like? And which one am I going to go with? And the people who are just on the space of like, well, I'm just thinking about this and teetering around with this and playing around with this idea. Maybe in 3 years, I'll be ready, air quotes, ready.
Yeah.
I'm like, great. That sounds great. There's so many people, myself included, that put out tons of amazing free information. Get as much as you can, build up as much as you can, and sit in that discomfort of inaction. It's extremely uncomfortable. Indecisiveness is one of the most painful places we can live, and we choose it. We choose to keep ourselves in indecisiveness, and that sort of analysis paralysis, where we're going to have shiny object syndrome and subscribe to every single freebie opt-in we possibly can. Who else has a mailbox full of like 75 newsletter? Me too. But that's part of it, because you always want to constantly be learning. So yes, there's so much value in that. But if that's all you're doing, what action are you taking from it? Probably not much. We have to charge also accordingly, so that people have the commitment that's going to match it. You have to feel the sweat equity. Like you got to feel that trigger, that pull a little bit, where it's like, okay, I paid a few $1,000s for this. I am showing up to my call and I'm doing my homework, and I commit to this, to myself and to them, and honor this agreement and this arrangement that we made.
Yeah. I think that investment element is so critical. And I was listening to Rob Bell's podcast this morning, and he said something like, frequently the universe, the divine, will ask you to put up the money, because that is a really good indicator of how in it you are.
Yes.
And I was like, that is good, because if somebody says to you, this is going to cost $5,000 or $20,000 or $100,000, or this is a $600,000 house, you got to be really into the house to be like, yes, there you go, $600,000.
Yep. And you start to work in the way your mind starts to work becomes, how can I do this? I'm a yes. So how can I figure this out?
Yes.
And
I will frequently
that's immediate action.
Yeah. I am a big journaler.
Yeah.
I like to journal. And I will say, I want this to happen. And in order for this to happen, I'm going to need to do this. And then I see if I show up to do that work. And if I do, then I will take the next action. And if I don't, that is proof. That is the pudding that's saying you're in it or you're not in it.
Yep.
And I'll create those barriers about so many different things, like, a coaching program that I'm thinking about, a mastermind that I'm thinking about, a juicer. Like I said to myself, I'm going to use the $4 nut milk bag to juice me some celery, because I got on a celery juicing. I don't know. I added a hashtag, and all of a sudden everybody in my feed is celery juicing and getting
it's the
clean
thing right now. Yeah.
It was the thing. Anyway, spoiler alert, did the celery juice for a solid 3 weeks, like I said that I would.
All right.
To qualify myself to buy the juicer, bought the juicer, hated cleaning the juicer, returned the juicer, haven't had celery juice since. It was just such an interesting thing to like be witness to, though.
Yeah.
And then I just unfollowed the hashtag celery juice. When in doubt, unfollow the hashtag.
Like this is no longer creating benefit to my life.
No, listen, I don't need any people advocating celery juice for me. So please,
like, I know, I get it.
But really, like, I did it. I had that experience. I'm better for it.
Oh, I love that you were like, this sounds interesting. Let me try it out. And like made that commitment, and then was like, okay, that's not for me.
Yes. I think, and I'm curious about this as an actress in that world, like it's a lot of putting yourself out there and not getting picked.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like we all have that in our lives, whether we're putting ourselves out there, and so frequently we're not picking ourselves.
Yeah.
How do you approach it?
Oh, that's a really good question. And I really like what you said, that so often we are not picking ourselves. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've kind of decided in my life, is that I will always choose myself. And I will always choose myself first. Because when I can be strong and healthy, I am able to show up in my life in every area and for the people that I care about so much better than the times when everything else was more important than me. Then that just brought me into gaining 50 pounds, into going into massive depression, into not taking action on anything in my life, into feeling so small and like a crumb on the ground. In what way can I possibly show up powerfully or spread joy or value or impact or change anything if I am operating from feeling like a damn crumb?
Yeah.
Choose yourself, pick yourself. And when you start to operate from that belief system, the resiliency of being told no, it just keeps, you're fine. You love yourself anyway. You love yourself through it. In business and in acting, 90% of it's rejection. Hopefully in business you can get a higher conversion rate than that. But you think about, in the online space, like on Instagram or something, you can look at 90% of it as rejection because, well, you're, however many thousands of followers you have, somebody else out there has millions. So those millions of people, they haven't said yes to you yet. It doesn't mean that some of them aren't going to in the future. Right.
Yeah.
So keep building up that resiliency. So when we're like, oh, but I only have this many followers, is it going to amount to anything? Well, keep going. There's still 90% of the people out there that don't know who you are yet, that haven't had the opportunity to say yes to you yet. And in acting, it's like, that is really like the stat is like you're told no 90% of the time, or you're just not even told no. You just never hear back again. So it's challenging, and you have to come at it from this place of, why am I doing this? Why do I keep showing up? Why do I train? Why do I put in the work? What's driving me for this? What's my purpose and intention here? Because the average is that it takes 10 years. And this is really through multiple statistics, but the one people know the most is like Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, the 10,000 hours to be an expert. That's about a decade. So it's on average like 10 years of doing something before like the big yes comes in. And there's a lot of strategy and things we can do to help move that along and get a ton of great little victories along the way and growth experiences. But if you're an actor and you're going into it for like the fame and be a household name, great goal. You better commit at least the next 10 years of being the most dedicated actor you possibly can be, putting yourself out there full time every single week, every single day, working toward that goal, toward that vision. That's not how it is for everybody. There's that 1% that has completely different stories, but that's most of the working actors. That's most of them. That's most of their journeys. And I think it's building in your resiliency and your knowing of your self-worth and loving yourself through it, loving yourself through the nose and through the weight. That's, oh my God, so much of everything is like patience and continuing to show up as though it's here right now, even when it's coming years down the road. Do you know like Jim Fortin?
No.
Okay. I think he's kind of the leading forethought on this. I think maybe it's like a Tony Robbins thing, but it's the be, do, have model, which is kind of where in Be Marvelous You is my brand's name, where that comes from. But this was before I even knew it was a thing. This is actually like a real teaching methodology, which is cool. So it's operating from the place of being that you want to have that result of in the future. So, the version of you that has the result in the life and everything that you envision later on, operating from the way that they would operate now. So being and embodying that version so that you then take the action and you do, so that's the do part, the things that they would be doing, that future you now, which is what brings that future so much closer and shortens that time and closes that gap so that you can then have that end as a result. So it's
Yeah.
operating from be, do, have.
Abraham Hicks has a similar thing.
Maybe that's
But
its.
it's similar in that you can't get to ease through hustle. If you want ease, you get there by embodying ease.
Yes. And I think it's challenging. In the entrepreneurial space, there's so much toss around with words like hustle and flow and ease, and like I think we have to find for us what feels, and we're not all the same personality type.
Totally.
So it's, what is it that fits for you, that feels like, oh God, somebody said it really cool the other day. I was at this conference, this amazing conference. I think it was hustle in the flow.
Oh,
Yeah. So it was
that does bring some alignment to it.
Yeah.
Hustle in the flow.
Where it's like, operate from that sense of like, this is possible for me. It doesn't have to be hard. This can be easy. This is easy, and retraining our brain. Like, it is easy for me to step into success. It is easy for me to receive clients. It is easy. Like, start training our brains into that so that they're not going to just show up and create situations that create resistance for you. And so there's a lot of power in training ourselves to think that, but I don't think that excuses not doing the work, not showing up. And putting in the effort. And people sometimes take it so far that way, where it's like, oh, well, if it's supposed to be easy, then I can just sit here and think about it and things will come to me. And I'm like, well, that's because you're leaning on law of attraction. There are also 11 other laws of the universe that come into play, like polarity and, you have to say, and momentum, and, action begets action and gets results. Like, we have to take those steps, but how do we do it in a way that feels better and feels with ease and that hustle in the flow?
Yeah. I mean, there was room for me to do it my way and Gary Vee to do it his way.
Yes.
There's room for that.
100%.
And I think that what I've really been stepping into personally is this idea that if what I want at the end is for things to feel like abundant and unfrenzied. Like frenzy does not feel good for me.
Yes.
Chaos, I am repulsed by chaos.
Yes.
Some people don't feel that way.
Yeah.
They work in the emergency room.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm cool with them liking it because I don't.
I'm so grateful we have people that do.
Totally. Very grateful. I had been stepping into a little bit of a space of saying, oh, but I need to have a time of grind. I need to embrace the chaos to get there. And that wasn't right. And it wasn't in alignment. And I was really quickly able to see, okay, this isn't an alignment. It doesn't feel good. I'm never going to get to a place of feeling good by feeling bad.
Yes. I love that. I'm never going to get to a place of feeling good by feeling bad. Yeah. I think that's amazing. There's so much power in that.
Isn't there? Because it just says to yourself, okay, I could give myself permission to feel good, feel worthy.
Yes.
Now.
And while I'm doing the work.
Yes.
While I'm showing up, doing the things, that's fine. And I can actually feel good while doing it.
Because that's how I'll get there.
Yeah. Because that's the way I want to feel in the end. Oh, I love it so much. I like when you think about like desire mapping. Who's the one?
Danielle LaPorte.
Yeah. Where it's like, make the decision. I mean, this is the be do have. This is be marvelous. This is what we talk about. Where it's, how is it that I want to feel most of the time? So I'm going to start saying yes to the things that make me feel that way now and no to the things that don't. And so if you're feeling immense like pain and resistance to certain pieces in your business, okay, well, let's look at it and let's reevaluate where are those fears coming from? What is that resistance? Is that you need to do some self-care, self-love, self-worth work around that to move it through, to break that and unlock the part that lets you step into flow and ease and feeling good about it? Is that something that you can outsource? Is that something you can delegate out? Is that something that you don't have to have your grip on? And a lot of times I think when we're the more controlling personality, that's where it's hard, because we'll grip everything so tight and be like, no, I can't, this can't feel good because I have to, like, and I won't let it. And I've so done that. And I like, I've had days where I'll operate from a place of like anxiety and pain in my body. And I'm like, that was a choice. That suffering was a choice. I didn't need to do that. It's like, so now I can have a full busy day and be grateful for it and be excited about it and feel good about this busy day because I love what it's working towards and I love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's a million times better than operating from the sense of anxiety and pain.
Definitely. That comes from awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that comes from having a little bit of space, white space, to say, okay, how do I feel right now?
Yeah. Oh.
And like, how do we work that in?
Question.
Because when we're going from one thing to the next thing, that's hard. I started doing something this week on my drive home. When I get to a stoplight that is like 3 minutes away from my house, I turn off all of the things, the Audible, the podcast, whatever. And I say, how do I feel heading into home time?
Wow. Oh, I like that.
And it's just really tactical. Like, it's super, anybody that has a commute of any kind, just identify the landmark and make that your talisman, your trigger. Because there's something there.
Yeah. Well, and oh my gosh, it just allows you to choose the way you're going to feel and that you want to feel when you arrive home.
Yeah. Because I'm doing all of this for that.
Yeah. Yes.
And sometimes I don't let myself enjoy the time at home. I let everything that happened outside of it really get in the noise in the way. And it's like, that's the bigger why. That's the why thing you were talking about earlier too, where it's like, don't sacrifice the thing that's most important now.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, Kellsie, this has been a really fun conversation.
Oh my God, I love this. Oh, and I think it's like triggered another thought, but sacrifice, I think, is another one of those really big words that is in the entrepreneur community a lot. And I think we do, anytime we want to grow and make a change in our life and move through and expand past what our current comfort zone is, there is going to be sacrifice involved. And that's things like sacrificing the stuff that's not serving you. That's sacrificing your self-doubt. That's sacrificing your laziness. It's sacrificing the comfort of your excuses. That's the sacrifice. You know, if you are working to get healthier, you're going to have to sacrifice, sleeping in that extra half hour, 45 minutes, or you're going to have to sacrifice the way you talk yourself out of things, of believing that you're not worthy of that commitment. It's not saying and my husband and I have had these conversations where I'll go through phases where I love my work. I love my work where I'm just in it. And I can, if I don't schedule in and plan out a time to stop and take a break and go eat dinner, I'll go days without I just eat on the go. I'll be like, hey, bye. I just, and that's kind of the way that I operate. And it feels good and exciting and energetic to me. And that's kind of the same way when I go through, I also like to paint. So if I have a couple of days where I'm like, this is going to be my freedom art expression time, where I'll go through a couple of days where I'm just painting, in studio mode and not existing in the outside world around me. And it's same thing with work. So we've talked about building in these times of, okay, well, maybe at 7 p.m. we take a break and we go eat dinner together, so that I'm not sacrificing the connection and the home and love that I want in my life. So that's not the piece that I want to sacrifice. Now, if you are in a season of launch or something that's really does, require and ask more of your time, maybe you're sacrificing, okay, you don't go on a vacation in the fall, you move it to spring. Like, there's those ways to work around it. Travel's a huge, huge part of my values and one of the core things I love. So making sure I prioritize that, but maybe not in my season of a launch, because that would create a friction and it would pull for the enjoyment from it. So great. So I'm going to finish the launch and then plan out my travel, right? Building in the things so that we aren't sacrificing the reasons why we're doing stuff, but we're sacrificing our excuses.
I love that. And I love the phrasing, the comfort of your excuses, because they are real comfy cozy.
Yep.
We've gotten real close to
Yep.
those excuses.
To the point where they just feel like truth.
Yeah.
Where we just think they're real and they're not.
Amazing. Okay. Lightning round.
Okay.
Go-to song when you need to up your energy.
Right now it is Higher Love by Whitney Houston and Kygo. All thanks to Angie Lee from Please to Be Brave.
Nice.
Yeah.
What time do you wake up?
Generally 8 a.m.
What's for breakfast?
Coffee.
Favorite ritual?
Oh, walking my puppy, listening to my meditation.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Both.
Nice.
Both. I used to only be a night owl, and now the mornings are one of my biggest gifts now. To myself, I love them. So now both.
What is a book you recommend frequently?
Oh, The Alchemist.
What can someone do to help you feel appreciated?
Oh, that's a good question. What can someone do to help me feel appreciated? Bring me food.
I love it. I love it.
I can't feed myself.
I love it. Kellsie, where can everybody find you online?
Instagram is the easiest, best way. I'm at Kellsie_Moore. You guys, my name's spelled funny. Kellsie. So find me. There's only like 2 of us on there. Instagram, DM me. I really, really love having DM conversations. It's the best way for me to get to know you, see how we can work together. Can I serve you? Can I offer value to your life? Depending on when this comes out, I do have a live in-person retreat coming in November that if this stuff we talked about today hits home with you, if you know that you want to work camera stuff into your life, into your business, DM me about that and I'll send you that information.
Awesome. We'll follow along on Instagram because I'm sure you'll have more stuff coming out in 2020.
I'll have something new. Yeah, I think launching January or February, but nice. I don't really know what it is yet. You guys are going to tell me what it is. So
I love that.
So DM me. Let me know.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for giving your time so generously today, Kellsie. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Same. That was a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much.